Hey there, 6th grade. Mr. Ron coming to you live from Cross Lutheran School 8th grade classroom behind the desk. If you want to grab some piece of note paper, again, we are under fractions. That should excite you. So either get a new piece or write it under fractions here. Today's lesson will really change your life forever. You will use it for the rest of your life. It's something is going to make your life much easier. I have kids who choose not to do it, and I ask them why, because there's just no reason not to. If you don't, you're just going to end up causing yourself many more headaches. And basically, it deals with fractions and what most people call cross-canceling them. Cross-canceling them. The book says reducing before you multiply. So really the little subheading under all of this should have been multiplying fractions, because that's what we're talking about, multiplying them. Okay, now so here's an example of what you'll see. If you see 6 times 1/5. 5. This is a pretty simple problem, not a big deal here, but don't forget, when you multiply fractions, you simply just multiply across. There's no finding common denominators. You multiply 5 times 1, you get 5, and 6 times 5, you get 30. Remember, you can't stop there because you have to simplify, which means you need to reduce. So you divide them both by 5, and you end up with 1/6, which is good, your answer. But what you need to understand is you could have made and it's not so important on this one, but when they get more complicated, you can make your life so much easier if, instead of multiplying, notice how we multiplied both the 5 times 1 and the 6 times 5. We multiplied by 5 twice, and then we just ended up dividing by 5 twice. You can kind of make your life easier by understanding this. If you see top numbers, if you see numerators and denominators that have the same factors, in other words, can be divided by the same number, rather than multiplying and then dividing at the end, you could start by dividing them before you multiply. In other words, if you know that 5 goes into both 5 and 5, I can divide 5 by 5 and get 1 here, and divide 5 by 5 and get 1 here. And then my multiplication is really simple. I multiply 1 times 1, I get 1, and 6 times 1, I get 6. It's just a simpler way to simplify the problem that makes your life easier. You'll see more in some of these other ones. Let's look at a mixed number here. 1 1/9 times 1 1/5. 1 1/9 times 1 1/5. Now remember, you can't just multiply the 1 times the 1 and the 1/9. You have to make these. We have to still make these improper like we have before. 1 times 9 is 9 plus 1. You get 10/9 for this. And that is going to be 1 times 5 plus 1, 6/5 for this. Okay. If I multiplied that as it is, you'd get 60/45, which is some goofy kind of division here. But if we use cross-canceling or reducing before we multiply, look at top numbers and bottom numbers. Are there some common factors? You could say yes. 10 can be divided by both 5 and 10. Or 10 and 5 can be divided by 5. So if I divide this by 5, I get 1. If I divide this by 5, I get 2. How about 6 and 9? Well, 3 is a factor of both of them, so I divide it by 3, I get 2 here. Divide this by 3, I get 3 there. Now remember, you cannot cross-cancel 2 top numbers. It doesn't work that way. It has to be a top with a bottom, so I cannot cross-cancel anymore. I multiply across, I get 4 on top, and I get a 3 on the bottom. If you do this right, you will never have to reduce when you get to the end. You will have to change mixed numbers or improper fractions into mixed numbers. So this does become 1 1/3 as a mixed number. Okay. And you can use cross-canceling with multiplication, but you can't use it until you change it into a You can use cross-canceling with division, but you can't use it until you change the division problem into a multiplication problem. In other words, here's a division problem. 5, 6 divided by 5 halves. Okay, you can't even look to cross-cancel until you do the rule for division, which is to flip and multiply by the second fraction. So this becomes 5/6 times 2/5. Now, once it becomes a multiplication problem, you can say, what can I cross cancel? And if you look, you can divide this by 5 and this by 5. 2 is a factor of both 2 and 6. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. Nothing is really left. I multiply across, I get 1/3. And that can't be simplified or changed. Let's look at just a couple more maybe. Hopefully you kind of get the gist. It's something that'll help you forever in the day. 1½ times 2 1/3. 1 1/2 times 2 1/3. Again, remember, we need to make them improper. You can't just multiply the way they are. 1 times 2 is 2 plus 1 is 3 halves. 2 times 3 is 6 plus 1 is 7/3. 7/3. 1 1/2. Yep, 3 halves times 7/3. The only factors that these guys have in common are 3's. Divide by 3, divide by 3. You end up with 1 times 7 is 7. 2 times 1 is 2. And again, you still need to change the improper to a mixed El Numero. Mixed number. And one last one. Let's do, I don't know, 9/10 divided by 1 1/5. Let's do it right here. 9/10 divided by 1 1/5. All right, so first thing we need to do is make them improper. You don't have to worry about 9/10, it's already. And 1/5 becomes 1 times 5 plus 1, 6/5. Now I need to make this multiplication by flipping and multiplying the second fraction, which is 5/6. And then I look to see if I can cross cancel. Do 9 and 6 have common factors? They do. A 3 goes into 9 3 times. A 3 goes into 6 twice. 5 and 10 common factors? Sure. 5 goes into 5 once. 5 goes into 10 twice. Again, remember, you can't do tops with tops or bottoms with bottoms. So this, you just end up remultiplying. You get 3 over 2 times 2, which is 4. So there you go, 6th grade. That is everything you wanted to know about cross-canceling. It will be a skill that will help you immensely in the future. So please, please, please use it whenever you can. Have yourself a great day.